What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Meet the. I am Troy Rawlings, your host, and today we got friend, business partner, and the man. He's an overall business consultant, but he is the 5G consultant. If you want to
appreciate that, my man. Appreciate
that.
I
mean, it's just my build up to the whole. Give it up for the one and only Eddie T. Arnold.
Junior? How you guys doing? Yeah, Junior.
Yes,
sir.
DLP Consulting Group. You've probably seen DLP Consulting Group on a lot of the videos. Is one of the co-sponsors, partners. He's my consultant. He's helped me tremendously with building my business over the past year and a half. Yeah. It's been a year already.
About a year and a little bit.
We're coming up on
it's mutually beneficial, you know.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I see that humble brag, but that's a mutual benefit. Appreciate you.
But I wanted to get in here, and I wanted to get you in, and we'll be talking to Eddie a lot. But I wanted to make sure we got in. Like I said, I try to do generic interviews, but we're in a different type of time and era. So this is taking place in April 2020. So if you're watching at a later date, and with the COVID-19, the coronavirus pandemic, all these things, rumors, people excited, people going crazy. Some of the things that came out about, this big 5G thing is coming, and there's a breakdown with molecular structures, and maybe this is the cause of this, that, and the other. And it's funny because when I heard it, I was like, well, Ed had actually told me what 5G was. And of course, we know technology has a lot to do with different things, but your background for the past 16, 17 years before you fully engaged in
I've been in telecommunications for over 20 years. The last 2000 end of 2018 is when I left Verizon Wireless voluntarily, and so I was in the network operations side, Verizon Wireless, working on towers from analog to 3G, PCS to 4G LTE into the 5G era. So that's the wireless side of the house.
So I know you probably heard some of the stuff. What are the fears valid? I know there's always some kind of safety thing with any kind of technology, but are the fears valid, or do people really realize what you're seeing when you talk to people? Are they realizing what 5G is and what it isn't? What overall?
Okay. So I'll start with this. So 5G is simply the 5th generation of wireless, right? You started with analog 1G, then you got some data on that's 2G. Then you got like the PCS, that's 3G. 4G is the voice over LTE, or the long-term evolution that's prior to this. One of the misconceptions I think people have is that 5G is going to take over the world and 4G and all the other legacy technologies are going to disappear, but that's not true. One of the misconceptions, or one of the fears of this millimeter wave, which is a shorter bandwidth, for those that know, it's like microwave, and that's when people hear microwave, that's when they get really, microwave. But if you think about your microwave in your house, right? How far do you stand away from your microwave? It has shielding, it has protection that's built in, that has gone through CE and UL certification. It's been, the government, and I know there's government conspiracy theorists, but the government takes great strides to make sure that we're safe in our house, right? Because we don't want lawsuits. It goes through all that stuff, right? So if you think about your microwave, it does heat up the internals of the meat, right? That heats it from within. And that's where everybody is getting that fear, like, it heats from within. Number one, the skin itself has a natural capability to shield you from microwaves, even like sun rays and stuff like that. So you put on sunscreen, and you monitor how much you stay out in the sun, right? I'm not saying that is a microwave, but you're saying that's the analogy I'm going to use. You like, okay, I'm getting hot, I'm not going to be in the sun. Now you won't be able to control the amount of 5G waves that are in the air. However, the municipalities and the FCC, the Federal Communications. See, anyway, Federal Communications. You know what I'm talking about? FCC. Right. They trust me. When you go through a process of putting in a new cell site, whether it's a small tower, a full-blown cell site, which you see these monopines, the trees, the poles that you see, the stuff you see on the side of the road, you have to go through a lockdown process, which is all run through the city or the state. That is made available to the public. So you can go down to the public office and find out exactly what's going on in your neighborhood at all times. We have to, as a telecommunications company, they have to put out what the RF limits are, how far it's going to go. They have RF packages that they provide to the city. So they have all this information, and you're a taxpayer, so you can get all this information, right? Additionally, the 4G and the 5G are mainly, it's when you pull that data in. So it's not constantly beating you over the head with RF, right? With radio frequencies. It's, if you think about, like, if you need some water, you turn on the tap, you fill your cup, you shut it off. Then the next person in your house might come in, they fill it up, then they shut it off, right? So it's different than analog, and I would say even 3G, where before you had this analog phone. If you remember back in the day, you had this brick when the phone started. You think Miami Vice, Tubbs, and Crockett. Right. They're calling, right? That phone is more dangerous because all of the power was coming out of the phone to get to the cell site, right? That's why it would get hot. That's why, even when you think about those old Blackberries and those Nokias, when they would get really hot. You have to keep them charged because they were putting out the power to the tower. Now technology is advanced where the power comes out from the tower, but it pings a signal in your phone so that, hey, you got a call coming. Okay, now I'm going to key up, touch the tower, and then you're going to have this conversation. It's going to key down, just like a walkie-talkie. You hit that hot mic, breaker 19, the other person had, over and out. That's how it works. So the concerns when you hear microwave, to get back to your point, is, oh, I'm going to be beat over the head with this microwave and my kids are going to have, be in trouble. They're walking to school, so forth and so on. And it's just, if you look at some of the websites, and I'll give you a couple of them, and it's multiple that will go and they'll debunk some of these myths as far as 5G. 5G is a necessary technology because it's not just for cell phone companies, and it's not just for the telecom industry. You got Internet of Things where your refrigerator is going to be ordering you groceries. Your car is going to be up to date. Telling you all some of this stuff is already done over 4G, where it's telling you, hey, your oil is low. You need to make an appointment. Right. You need to do all this other stuff. So it's one of those things where you don't have to join that world if you don't want to.
Some people don't even realize that their car and different things that they're already operating on a regular basis, already using 4G, already using the certain technology. Like I didn't think about the car situation, how, your tire pressure is low. It's like, oh, wow, thank you, car.
Yeah. I mean, but see, that'll get back to your phone. There's a lot of cars now, like my truck, for example. I can start my truck from my phone. I can figure out where it was parked from before. But if you think about your phone as a necessary component to your life, like the most valuable thing that most people have, if you think about it, the thing that you lose the most is your phone, whether you are tech savvy or not. It's your phone. Most people don't have home phones anymore. Most people don't even remember phone numbers anymore. It's all in their phone book, right? So that's what you use. You use it to order food. You use it to call for AAA. You use it to book appointments, doctor's appointments. And what 5G is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow a low latency throughput, so that, and low latency meaning that there's just no delay. So say, for example, during this pandemic, and I'm not, just please remember, I'm not touting 5G to the heavens or whatever. I do get, full disclosure, I do have clients that support the major vendors, and that is part of my revenue. However, there are benefits to it. So say during this pandemic, we have these doctors and we're having a lot of medical professionals and ventilators and all this stuff. There's a lot of eyes on the medical field, right? So there's a lack of operating space, lack of hospital rooms because we have all these patients coming in. One example of what 5G could do is if someone needs an operation and the doctor's in another city, they can use those tools without latency and go into surgery and do the surgery remotely, right? That's just one example because of the latency. Right now, if I was to try to do surgery on somebody over 4G and I had latency, I might move my hand and then it might move 5 seconds later on the guy's body or whatever. Say you're doing a heart transplant or something like that. Now with no latency, it's instantaneously. If my hand moves, then I see that instrument move, right? Mm-hmm. So think about the benefits of cost reductions that could happen in those type of things. Think about the medical files that you have, that you can see a whole medical file across the country instantaneously, shared from one doctor's office to another, because maybe you're out of the country or something like that, and you had an accident and you need that information. Those are just, examples that are coming to mind because of the pandemic. I'm not even sure if I answered the question all the way together, but
no, you did. Answer you did. A lot of the concerns that people had were because the microwaves, or because of this, or because of how I'm not sure if this is going to be safe. This is why the misconception is that the reason why we're so susceptible to COVID-19 is that all this technology is breaking our molecular structures down.
Right.
And you just answered it, because no, it's not. It's not enough. It's not enough to do that. What's happening is we're human. What's happening is the same thing that happened with TB, the same thing that happened in the past with different things that.
Think about when cell phones first came out. Think about when you had automated cars come out. Whenever new technology comes out, people are leery, and you should be. You should question everything that has to do with your health and make sure that the money isn't the driver above the health of you and your family, right?
Right.
So we want to do the research. We want to go ahead and put out, I'm making myself available to your people. They can ask me any questions they want to ask me, and then I'll provide you with some links that they can look at, and they're unbiased, and compare,
right,
and then ask the questions, right? I'll leave you with this. I worked on rooftops in LA from 2003 to 2018. We had our monitors where we would make sure that we weren't oversaturated with any RF or what have you. I would be right next to antennas, 3G, 1G, 2G, and my monitor wouldn't go off. We were calibrated on the regular basis per code, right? And I felt safe coming home to my family, being around these antennas, and I'm right next to those antennas, right? 5G, like I said, is not going to be bursting out consistently. It's going to be, when you call it, it's going to come, right? So I would take a little bit more comfort in that. I'm speaking from a place where I, fed my family doing that, but I have a MBA in project management. I have a grad cert in business analytics. I have a bachelor's degree in electronic engineering. I didn't have to work on cell sites. It was just something that I really enjoyed doing. It was something that I saw immediate satisfaction with, because when I fixed something, I saw it all of a sudden as a public service almost, where you see people are already are instantaneously able to use their phone. So what I'll say is I had other options, but once I got into that field, it's something that I really enjoyed. It's a service that I think is needed in the community. And and we should keep checks and balances on it. You should question these things. Should always question things that revolve around your health. But we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay.
Thanks so much. We're gonna talk more to Eddie Arnold. He has some appointment stuff. I wanted to make sure we got Eddie Arnold. DLPconsultinggroup.com. You'll see the information below as well. Reach out to him, especially for your business. A lot of business people have hit me up and asking about how to go about upgrades and all that. There's Eddie.
Yeah, hit me up anywhere at Consulting DLP. Any social media.
At Consulting DLP.
I appreciate you, my man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. I know I'm doing it wrong. He's the military guy.
No, you good. You good. You good.
All right, we'll talk soon.
All right.
Peace.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.